Welcome to HR Voices, real talk with people leaders who are in it every day. We get into the messy stuff, the challenges that keep them up at night, and how they're actually fixing them. No corporate fluff, just smart conversations for people who care about people. HR Voices is brought to you by All Voices, the platform that cuts hours of manual HR work with step-by-step workflows and AI to assist with investigations, performance improvement, accommodations, leave requests, and more, so you can get back to the human side of HR. Welcome to HR Voices. I'm your host, Emily Fennick, and today I am lucky enough to be chatting with Colette Brown, the CHRO at Stony Brook University Hospital. Welcome, Colette.
Thanks so much, Emily. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, so excited to talk to you. Colette, Stony Brook is a household name for a lot of people. A lot of people really know that name. Stony Brook was recently named the #1 hospital in New York for pediatric care and #7 hospital in the nation. What an achievement. Can you tell us a little bit more context on Stony Brook for those who may not be familiar?
Absolutely. And I am so proud and so grateful to work here. We are the only level 1 trauma center in Suffolk County. We have about 8,100 employees here at Stony Brook University Hospital. We also have 2 affiliate hospitals, Stony Brook Southampton and Stony Brook Eastern Long Island. So altogether, we're about 10,000 employees. But University Hospital really is a premier hospital. We just have an exceptional team. Our CEO, Carol Gomes, is so dedicated to our mission. Our entire executive leadership team are really top-notch, and we just have exceptional employees, truly, truly dedicated to the mission we serve. And it really is inspiring. It's just an inspiring and wonderful place to come to work every day.
That's awesome. It sounds like I'm down the street from Vanderbilt, which is also another university hospital. I just feel so lucky to live within proximity to an institution like that. I'm sure the residents near you in Suffolk County feel the same way. I was shifting gears. I know it's a wonderful, high-ranked hospital, but I wanted to shift gears a little bit more to the challenges. So I was on Reddit, of all authoritative places to get your information.
Okay.
But I did see something interesting, which was there was a poll on the HR community subreddit.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, what do you think is the most challenging environment for people leaders? And healthcare by far was talked about, was voted to the top. I wanted to get your take on that as someone who's a senior people leader within healthcare. Why do you think that is? What are some of the challenges for leading people in that context?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think some of the challenges that are probably unique to healthcare, we operate 24/7, so we need to make sure that we have full staffing, round the clock, 360 days a year, so Christmas Day, every other day in between. And we have to make sure that we have adequate support for our employees on all 3 shifts, including supervision and people who are there as resources to them if they run into a problem or need support with something. So I think that's an inherent challenge in any type of industry where you're operating 24/7. Also, the work they do, it requires not only a high level of clinical skills, but really a high level of emotional compassion, empathy, and that really can take a toll on employees. So we focus a lot on resilience and their own well-being, because when you're caring for people who are sick, or you're caring for a family who has a newborn in the neonatal intensive care unit, you become emotionally attached and emotionally involved. And again, we have to make sure that we're taking good care of our employees and they're taking good care of themselves. So I think those are some of the challenges that are unique. One of the things that I think will stick with me forever is during COVID, what our employees went through and the sacrifices they made, and literally the heroism they demonstrated when we knew very little. They were coming to work, putting themselves at risk. Of course, we had every type of protective equipment under the sun and we were ahead of everything, but still it was a very frightening time. And like many healthcare organizations, we just couldn't staff to the levels we needed to staff. And being part of SUNY, which is the State University of New York, we called upon one of our sister hospitals, SUNY Upstate. They're near Syracuse. And they weren't yet, the wave of the pandemic hadn't yet hit them. And we had probably 20 or 30 nurses who voluntarily came down. We put them in housing, spent 2 to 3 weeks with us, helping us take care of our patients. And they had a police escort, fire engines escort. We had employees lined out in front of the hospitals, all just clapping, cheering, holding signs. I mean, we were all choked up, and I still get
I'm getting
emotional.
choked up now.
I really get emotional thinking about it, and I think it just demonstrates the absolute passion caregivers have for their patients and their community. And we are so fortunate to have incredibly compassionate and caring and highly skilled employees here at Stony Brook and within SUNY.
That's moving. You're the first guest that's made me cry on HR Voices.
I'm sorry.
No, I think it's a
Happy tears, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I can't imagine being in that position, and it takes you back to think about, what that was like for frontline workers. I mentioned I'm in Nashville. It's a huge healthcare. Majority of my friends are nurses or in the music business. So, it just takes me back to them. A lot of them traveled to
Yes.
other areas. When it comes to your people team, if you take it back to where we are now, almost 2026, I'm sure you're thinking ahead to the future. When you think about your people team specifically, what sort of challenges are they facing day to day that are top of mind for you as we enter into the new year?
Well, first I'll say we're in so much of a better place than we were in 2020 and now in 2025 and going into 2026. We've made incredible strides with staffing. We have really invested a great deal in our employees in compensation and leadership development programs and reward and recognition programs, as I mentioned, in wellness and resilience programs. I think some of the challenges for Stony Brook, quite frankly, are the same challenges I've personally seen in every organization I've worked in, and are the same challenges I hear my peers talk about all the time. And there's the same challenges I read about all the time. And that's really leadership. I think a big challenge comes down to ensuring that as leaders, we are building and nurturing a culture of respect, a culture where employees feel that their voices are truly heard, that their suggestions resonate, and where things are fair. The standards are the same for everyone. And when it comes to ensuring fairness and consistency, I think leaders struggle with that. And I see that as their biggest pain point for two primary reasons. One is, like, leaders, like all of us, we're human, dread conflict and go out of our way, quite honestly, to avoid it. So we tend not to have those important and sometimes difficult conversations. And I think the second part of that same challenge has to do with what I call labeling employees, or sometimes I call it the attitude trap. So throughout my career, I've heard leaders say, oh, they have a negative attitude. This person is toxic. I've even heard they're a cancer on the department. I mean, all kinds of dramatic language. And this is again, I would feel confident that you would see this in every organization. And I think the challenge is leaders, like most of us, were never taught how to pinpoint behavior. I actually learned that term when I worked for an organization that was a residential and educational facility for kids and adults with intellectual disabilities. And they had behavioral analysts there, and they really used the science to talk about how to pinpoint or identify specific behaviors that are problematic, so then you can coach and teach around those behaviors. So we do a lot of work in our leadership education workshops where we say, okay, don't tell me any names. Think about the person. Could be at work, could be at life, or at home. When the phone rings or they walk in your office, you just go, oh, and who is it? And now don't use any adjectives, no labeling them. Use verbs and describe the specific behaviors. And invariably at first, even in the workshops, after we say, don't use adjectives, use verbs, don't label the person, invariably they do. But then we work through it and we say, okay, what are the things they say or do that make you feel as though they're negative? Or how are they saying it? Or how are they doing it? And then we're able to really distill and pinpoint. So we do a lot of education around that so that leaders can address not only performance issues, but behavioral issues, because behavioral issues is one of the biggest influencers of how employees feel about the work environment. If I'm coming to work every day and I feel as though my coworker is exhibiting label bullying behavior, that's going to affect my work experience. Maybe I'm going to be less engaged. Maybe I'm actually going to leave. So it's really, to me, it's a leadership imperative.
Hmm. So at All Voices, we're an employee relations platform. So we see this all the time, which is
Yes.
that when complaints come in, they are so often adjectives. But I've
Mm-hmm.
never heard it explained so succinctly as you just did, right? Of, this person is a bully. Well, can we, an investigator's job is to get down to the behavior. What was specifically said or what was specifically done
Exactly.
so that we can coach to it. So I love the way that you just explained that.
Thank you.
So in addition to the training, is there anything else that you've done to try to address that challenge? Is there a specific, do you develop your own training, or is there anything that others could adopt to help lead a session like that? That sounds very helpful.
We actually have developed our own training, our own homegrown training around those notions and around those concepts. And I think taking them and trying to put them into practice is really the key. I personally, throughout my career, have gone through to a lot of educational training programs where there's a lot of theory.
Right.
And certainly the theory is important. We need to understand the rationale. We need to understand why. But I believe where some of these trainings fall short is they don't talk about the how. Now, how do I actually implement this? What do I actually do? So we go into great detail, getting that granular, and we do a lot of exercises, a lot of role plays, a lot of case studies, allowing them to put it into practice. We're also very fortunate because we have a wonderful employee relations team. And we tell our managers all the time, the only thing you have to remember from this workshop is call HR. So we tell them, just pick up the phone and call us, and we will walk you through it. We will help you distill what is happening, what can be addressed, how should it be addressed. We will coach you. We will help script you. We will help prepare you for reactions. I think that's another thing leaders struggle with is, what if the employee gets angry? What if the employee cries? What if the employee says, well, what about so and so, and you're picking on me? We actually help them rehearse and practice for that. We say to them, of course, you want to stay in listening mode. You don't want to just have scripted answers. You want to listen to, understand, and empathize with the employee is saying, but we want you also to be prepared on what's an appropriate way to respond, because the ultimate goal is to help that employee grow, develop, and meet the expectations, and ultimately to ensure our commitment to all of our employees, which is a safe and comfortable work environment.
Yes, that's wonderful. Right now, right after this recording with you, we're actually doing a mock investigation. We do them regularly at All Voices, and this time I play investigator. It is such a more difficult role when you have to put yourself in that position to ask those questions and pinpoint those behaviors. Than I've been leveraging AI to sort of help me prepare as someone
Yes.
who doesn't do this every day. So just sort of helping me anticipate emotional reactions so that I can be prepared for them, or anticipate difficult questions, or, make sure I've covered all of my bases. So it's been really helpful as I prepare for my fake interview.
Yes, but that is a wonderful idea, and
Mhm.
AI is just such an incredible tool, and it's so powerful. And I've been encouraging my HR team to really leverage it, and we do take advantage of it. And I think that's a great idea. Is you can role play with AI, and of course, we never know what's going to happen in the actual moment, but it does help us prepare. And I think that preparation naturally helps reduce anxiety.
Yes, I mean, even it just going into it in a better emotional space, it's been helpful. Last time we spoke, you had mentioned to me some sort of AI technologies, tools that you've been bringing in house to support your team. Could you tell us a little bit more about where you guys are on your adoption journey, and what your experience has been so far?
Absolutely. About a year and a half ago now, we rolled out an HR chatbot, which is AI, but I would say certainly not as robust as a ChatGPT or a Copilot. But we partnered with a vendor and we rolled out an HR chatbot. We had a little contest with our employees to name it, and we named our chatbot Herbie, which is spelled capital H, capital R, so HR, and then BIE. And we really wanted to make sure that employees were aware of this new tool, this new resource, and we had a lot of fun with it. We had our HR leaders dressing up in like a little robot costume, walking around. We had tabling events. We did all kinds of photo shoots with Herbie, and employees had a lot of fun with it. But the most important part was we communicated that Herbie was going live and was here to help them. And as we talked about, we're a 24/7 operation, but HR is not open 24/7. Employees who have questions at 3 o'clock in the morning, or who need a benefits form, or need to know, I need to get a copy of my W-2 form, whatever it might be. Now they can do that 24/7. They don't have to wait and sometimes wake up. It's my value time to sleep, but I have to get up to call HR when they're open. So we were very excited about that. We were very thoughtful about how we programmed Herbie. We had to build his brain, so to speak, in terms of uploading content, putting the links to particular websites that we wanted him to scan, putting links to documents that we wanted him to scan, and creating custom questions and responses. We tried to put some silly, fun things in there too. Herbie's always having a good day, no matter how you ask him what he's doing. He's usually pretty positive. And we continue to monitor the chatbot. I think that's the most important thing. It's easy to say, here it is, it's fun, we went live, we did it, but we continue to monitor it to see what kinds of questions are coming in. Is Herbie answering the questions correctly? And then we modify his responses and add content when we see there are questions coming in that he hasn't answered in the past.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you're learning from it. Has anything sort of surprised you in terms of maybe things that need to be better communicated or better documented or anything like that?
It has been interesting. We've looked at some of the metrics. I'm amazed at the number of requests we get for employment verifications, and that's something that we can now do much more quickly, much more efficiently for our employees. A lot of questions about leaves of absence, information that was available to employees, but not in the moment. So that's really been the biggest piece. Bread and butter questions that employees want. What are our holidays? How do I submit my timesheet? I mean, it's really those types of almost procedural questions that they're asking.
The things that HR get, no matter how many times you've emailed everyone or posted it clearly, and they still ask,
Yes.
about holiday schedule, and you just drive you a little bit crazy. But Herbie doesn't mind.
Herbie doesn't mind. And again, it comes down to human nature. If I come to orientation and you tell me all about my benefits, okay, great. But it's not really going to resonate with me. I may not remember it when 6 months from now, I now need to utilize it.
Exactly. Well, we have covered so much ground today. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been an emotional roller coaster. But any sort of final words of advice for our audience on the HR leaders, maybe not as senior in their career as you yet? Do you have any advice?
I guess from a career path point of view, for those who are looking to grow their career in HR, I always found it to be basically just be eager and willing to learn. Ask, what can I help with? Can I get involved in this project? This is really interesting. Can I somehow lend a hand? I think those types of things have been what have enabled me to move forward in my career, as well as I encourage all in HR to invest in themselves, to teach yourself whatever skill it is, whatever tool it is that you feel you need to refine. Just take the time and invest in yourself to do that. As you said with AI, my goodness, how much easier is that than it was years ago? But from a career point of view, I think from a practice point of view, it can, like any other field, HR can become sometimes exhausting. Again, we have to take care of ourselves as people. We're listening to sometimes problems throughout the day, and take care of yourselves. And also, no matter what, Don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of becoming cynical, and just really recognize every employee is an individual, a whole person, and treat them as such. And I think that will yield incredible results for your organization. It really just comes down to the basics: kindness, compassion, empathy, respect, fairness, accountability. I mean, it's nothing secret or magic. It's basically, again, human behavior, what we all want in any organization.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Colette, for being here and for sharing all of your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Emily. It was my pleasure, and thanks for a fun conversation.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.